Hi everyone. Continuous learning is essential in our field, helping us navigate complex patient needs and evolving industry standards. Today we have an exciting opportunity for you to deepen your understanding of ethical decision making in hearing care. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Dr. Beatrice Jordan, a passionate, people-centered training specialist with over 35 years of experience in both academia and the pharmaceutical industry. Dr. Jordan's academic journey is remarkable, holding multiple degrees, including a B.Pharm, a MSc in pharmaceuticals, a PhD in pharmacology, a master's in information science, a master's in philosophy in biomedical ethics, and a PCDT in primary care. She has contributed extensively to research, education, and professional training, making her an esteemed voice in healthcare ethics. Today, Dr. Jordan will be taking us through ethical decision-making, empowering hearing care professionals to navigate complex ethical scenarios. This session will help you make more informed, patient-centered decisions in your daily practice. And as a bonus, you'll have the opportunity to earn up to 3 CPD points. 1 point just for watching live, and 2 additional points for you to complete a multiple choice questionnaire with a passing score of 70% or more. With that, I'll hand over to Dr. Jordan to take us through this insightful session. Thank you, Dr. Jordan.
Thank you for being here with me today. I am very excited to dive into this extremely important topic, ethical decision making, and how we can ensure patient-centered care. Ethics in audiology is much more than just following regulations. It is about making decisions that truly benefit our patients while navigating financial and also marketing challenges. So, let's get started. Here is what is on our agenda. We'll explore the ethical challenges in audiology. We will look particularly at the affordability bias in hearing aid recommendations, and also we will have a look at medical aid limitations. We will discuss patient-centered decision-making, and most importantly, we will leave you with some critical takeaways and actionable strategies that you can use to move ahead. So, I want to start with a story. Let's start with the fascinating example from nature, the amazing lyrebird. This bird can mimic literally any sound that it hears.
What bird has the most elaborate, the most complex, the most beautiful song in the world? Well, I guess there are lots of contenders, but this bird must be one of them. The superb lyrebird of Southern Australia. He clears a space in the forest to serve as his concert platform. To persuade females to come close and admire his plumes, he sings the most complex song he can manage, and he does that by copying the songs of all the other birds he hears around him, such as the kookaburra. It's a very convincing impersonation. Even the original is fooled. He can imitate the calls of at least 20 different species. He also, in his attempt to outsing his rivals, incorporates other sounds that he hears in the forest. That was a camera shutter. And again. And now a camera with a motor drive. And that's a car alarm. And now the sounds of foresters and their chainsaws working nearby.
Imagine for 1 minute how this would have sounded without hearing. And that is how people with hearing loss feel each and every day, missing out on the beauty of nature and also the connection to everyday sound that we so often experience each and every day. And that's why what we do as hearing aid professionals are so very crucial. So why do hearing matter? If we look at this guy, he was born blind and he wrote a fascinating book, If You Could See What I Hear. And one of the most profound things that he says in the book is, for me, sound is everything. It paints my world. It gives me direction. It fills the spaces where sight does for other people. So it is absolutely for us a reminder that hearing is not only a sense, it is actually a fundamental part of our world. And even if we do lose our sight, it does not mean that hearing is less important, because people can see without vision via audio cues. So always remember that hearing is just as important to interact with our world. Now, it is really a global issue. Did you know that 1 in 6 people actually suffer from some form of hearing loss? That means that every single day that we interact with people, 1 in 6 of them find it hard to hear in that group. And as hearing care professionals, we have got the utmost responsibility to ensure that they get the right solutions without bias and without assumptions. This is what hearing loss looks like. And I don't even have to show it to you, because you see it each and every day in people. This is a visual of what people hear in comparison to what people lose when they cannot see. And you can see that there's little bits that they lose. Let's look at a patient's ethical dilemma. Imagine a 72-year-old person that is a retired school teacher. He used to love to have conversations with people, but his medical aid only covers a basic hearing aid and not an enhanced auditory device. And he wonders if he really needs to have an expensive one. What would you do? Would you only offer the basic device because it's for free? Or would you highlight the benefits of the enhanced auditory device? Or would you alternatively provide all the options and even supply the patients with financing solutions to help him in his endeavors? So, should we as hearing care professionals actually downplay the benefits of an enhanced auditory device to respect the patient's financial situation? Or should we actually look at what is the best clinical outcome for each and every patient and not think of the cost? So here is a real world scenario. Meet Mr. Jacobs. He is the one that I have been talking about. He's, as I said, a retired school teacher who was deeply entrenched in very social conversations with many of his friends. He also loved to converse with his kids and with everyone in the neighborhood. And now he finds that he has got difficulty even hearing people when there are more of them around him, or if he is sitting at the dinner table, and you hear it each and every day from the people you see. So what is happening to this man is that now he is there, but he rarely contributes, and he often is very disengaged and not looking at anyone or even conversing. So before this, he was immensely active member of his community. He was an avid bird watcher. He enjoyed nature, and he was also the one that was leading discussions. However, now as Mr. Jacobs' hearing worsens, he actually even avoids answering his calls. He does not want to go to community meetings anymore, and he becomes more and more withdrawn and lonely.
My hearing difficulties make it hard to join in on the conversation or catch the punchline of a joke. You too? I usually ask people to speak more clearly or turn down the background noise so I can hear better. Even so, hearing can be hard work and really exhausting. Sometimes I try to bluff my way through. Other times I just zone out, which can be embarrassing. Sometimes I worry that I'm going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, and so I just stay quiet or avoid conversations altogether. But then I feel lonely when I see people laughing and having a good time without me. Does this happen to you? Well, you're not alone. Half of people like us with hearing loss have difficulty participating in social activities, relating to others, or deeply connecting with people in their lives. The social and emotional impacts of hearing loss are real, and help is available. Talk to a hearing health professional who really cares. Let us know how your hearing difficulties are affecting you.
So you as a hearing care professional can really see this because you see it each and every day. And here was the tipping point for him. So this was actually a very emotional time. One evening when he was with his family, his granddaughter ran up to him and excitedly wanted to share something with him. But he only caught a few of the words. He looked at her and only smiled weakly and pretended to understand whilst nodding. So his son noticed it and asked him, "Dad, is there something wrong with him?" And he said, "No, it is okay. He just doesn't have many things to say." So this particular evening, as with many of the other evenings, he went to bed without saying anything and feeling worse and worse. So the good thing is that his wife actually convinced him to visit an HCP. We will see what affordability bias look like. This is balancing the financial aspect with what really is good for the person. Affordability bias can affect clinical decisions in a very hazardous way. Hearing care professionals may hesitate to recommend enhanced auditory devices just because they do not want to make the patient feel uncomfortable, and in turn not giving the person the best possible hearing outcomes that they could. So do we decide for the patient, or do we provide all the options? And do we make the assumption that the patient cannot afford the auditory device, or do we give them the option to choose? It is actually a very common issue that we think because the medical aid is not covering the enhanced device, that the patient that sits in front of you cannot afford it. But wouldn't it be better if we actually inform the person about financing and that there definitely are alternative options? So I really think that transparency is extremely important in this regard, because a patient has the right to full disclosure of all treatment options, even those that are not covered by his medical aid. Now, what are some of the ethical concerns here? The most important thing actually here is that patient autonomy could be compromised. The person should have the choice always. It could also lead to a person not having the best possible outcomes that we could give him, and therefore we could compromise their quality of life. Then we could also be under recommending for a person who could actually be getting a better device. So we need to explain the differences clearly to a person and discuss all the roles of the different technological features. What would an enhanced auditory device versus the technologically enhanced devices do? And we need to share the priorities and concerns of the person by doing, for instance, self-assessment questionnaires, doing real-world listening to help that person to visualize the impact of each and every option. And we also need to be very transparent when it comes to affordability. So what does equity and access to care mean? It means actually what is the best choice for each and every person that walks into my door. So we need to ethically balance our clinical recommendation with patient autonomy, also keeping in mind what is the patient's individual lifestyle and need. And this is the pivotal part of patient-centered ethics. Then we need to look at the fairness, even when we think that a person cannot afford it. So we need to become more patient-centered, even when we are surrounded by numerous market pressures, for instance, independent audiologists, large franchises that is offering numerous options. We need to be very transparent to the patient about all of the different options and give that patient the informed decision making so that he can feel he is the one that ultimately decides what to do. Full disclosure with all hearing aid options is one tick. We need to offer a patient broad financial solutions and tell them that there are different payment plans, and also we need to take into consideration what is each and every patient's daily hearing needs, and think that it is definitely not just about how expensive it is. And most of all, let the patient make the final decision. So if we go back to the 4 pillars of medical ethics, which is autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. And one of the most important is beneficence. We want to help people. Also, we do not want to harm people, which is the meaning of non-maleficence. So we need to have the overall concern for what is the best for the person at the end of the day. And then last but not least, also we need to be objective, equal and fair. And our personal bias should never ever interfere with a person's care. And as I have mentioned, a patient should come to their very own conclusion. So the decision making should be done with freedom and absolute independence. And hearing care professional need to agree with this decision and you need to respect it. We therefore need to empower the patient and align with their needs without them feeling pressure to do one thing or another. We are moving more towards a patient-centered approach versus the olden way of thinking, where we were the ultimate decision makers. And very important as well is we have to listen to them with empathy and understanding. We need to recognize the huge emotional impact that it have on each and every person's lives. And we need to know that it might stem from personal reasons. So instead of authoritative persuasion, we need to move towards more to a facilitative way, where we are guiding the person towards what would fit them better in order to empower them to express their needs and their concern, because each patient has their own journey and their journey is unique. Even with a person that has got a resistance to have a hearing aid, we need to give them more insight into how their interactions will be enhanced, and that may ultimately lead to a much more receptive attitude towards using a hearing aid. So let us look on how we can focus on what a patient can get when we help them in this regard.
May is Better Speech and Hearing Month, and many people do not associate hearing loss with mental illness.
But experts say not being able to hear properly can be linked to feelings of depression and loneliness. CBS 2's Kieran Dillon has a story.
Perfect. I'm going to move to the left side now.
48-year-old Tom Kirsting has struggled with his hearing since he was in elementary school. His condition has progressively gotten worse, and 5 years ago, it began impacting the New Jersey psychotherapist at work.
With more and more of the people that were coming in, I was having more and more difficulty hearing them.
His wife, Krista, says the condition also impacted the couple at home.
Sometimes I'll find myself shutting down because he'll be like, what? And then I'll be like, oh, forget it.
Kirsting isn't the only one. A recent study found 15% of Americans between the ages of 20 and 69 have some trouble with their hearing. Audiologist Dr. Kristen Handel with Hearing Life says a growing number of young people are also seeing their hearing impacted due to increased headphone usage. She adds the pandemic has forced many to realize their hearing might be suffering.
Everyone's wearing masks and they can't depend on facial expressions, reading lips.
Dr. Handel says if you are struggling with your hearing, there are several things you can do. The first is to contact an audiologist who will complete a hearing test with you and perhaps recommend a hearing aid.
So there are many things you could do. So first of all, you need to supply, as we've said before, comprehensive information. We need to provide transparent pricing. And in certain instances, we need to also respect the belief and the value system of a person that might impact their perception of hearing loss and also the treatment thereof. And then we need to hold their hands and offer ongoing support for as long as that person is in our care. So how we can do it is to normalize concerns. We could promote self-reflection. We could encourage them to talk to support groups, and we can also help them to address these irrational beliefs that they have about hearing. So there are many things that have influence on a patient's decision, and it is absolutely an incredible balancing act because there's an expanding market out there. There is even OTC hearing aids that people can get, but you as the hearing care professional still knows the best, and you need to help these people to make the best decisions there is. We need to have a holistic, empathetic view of our patients. We need to respect that they are the person that need to make the decision. We need to foster greater acceptance of hearing solutions and thereby improving long-term treatment outcomes. We need to actually have collaborative partnerships with each and every person and see them as an individual. And we need to look at each and every person and think that they deserve to have a better quality of life. So what could we do to help? We could provide full disclosure without any bias. So explain the functional differences between all the models that we have to offer. Give them the opportunity also to try out all of the particular models that you are suggesting them, and then empowering the patient to decide after experiencing the difference between these models. Now, you would be glad to hear that Mr. Jacobs ultimately did make his own decision. The healthcare professional, in this instance, the hearing aid professional, helped him to explore many financial options. And she, in actual fact, ensured that his financial concerns did not compromise his hearing health. So, the key takeaways from everything that I've said in this past few minutes is that by supplying a person comprehensive information and upholding patient autonomy, by avoiding affordability bias and supporting the patient's informed choice without bias, we will give the patient the best balance between lifestyle needs, the financial reality, and also what in terms of clinical outcomes is the best for the person. So we need to have ethical transparency, improve how we facilitate instead of doing persuasive selling, and we need to address that affordability bias and stay informed so that we can do the best we could for a person. So let us look at this lady. This is one of the things that happen to a person with hearing loss each and every day.
Sometimes it's so difficult, it's easier just to leave it.
Americano.
Going out on your own can be really difficult. It's probably just background noise to you, but it drowns everything else out for me. Like most hard of hearing or deaf people, I can read lips, body language and facial expression. But if the guy behind the counter does not look at me or turns away when talking, it's like somebody's just hit the mute button. If I can't hear someone, then obviously it's going to take longer for me to understand them and longer for me to place my order. If there's a queue behind me, I can feel customers and staff members getting impatient, and it's easier for me to just nod and give up.
So it is very, very good to tell a person a story about how they can benefit from having an enhanced hearing aid when in these type of situations. So always use ethics as a guide when you are dealing with your patients. Think of technology and that it is there to improve human connection and therefore also your quality of life. And I think we are here as hearing care professional to enhance communication and also the well-being of individuals. And we need to think of patient dignity, informed consent, and equitable access, always leading us into the right direction. So think of it this way. Your purpose is like providing the best hearing care. It is like the end destination on a map. Then you have a pointer or directions that you can help a patient to ensure that they have got accessibility and that you are teaching them based on evidence-based practice. And above all, you need to keep in mind that ethics should always be the compass that guides your decision making in everything we do. So please keep in mind everyone matters. So let's try to make it a wonderful world for all.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright, blessed days, dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colours of a rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, "How do you do?" They're really saying, "I love you." I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Quite simply wonderful.
So I thank you for your time and for all your dedication with all your heart of hearing patients.